Welcome to Catalyst Conversations, the podcast that brings you real-world stories and solutions from a wide variety of acoustic experts. Each episode, we'll dive into a different topic from the world of acoustics, such as architectural and industrial noise control, seismic and vibration restraint, acoustical testing, or innovative design and engineering of sound control products. Our experts have decades of experience in this space and are eager to share their expertise with you. Join us in making the world a quieter place.
Hi, and welcome to Catalyst Conversations. My name is Adam Ritzak. I am a content marketing manager at Catalyst Acoustics Group, and I help to moderate our podcast discussions. Before we get started with today's new episode, we'd like to share a new event with you, as Catalyst is hosting its first ever acoustics industry event this June in Texas. This free event is packed with value for attendees, where you can meet the brands and find noise control solutions for your projects, earn valuable continuing education units, and gain insights into critical industry topics while enjoying fantastic networking opportunities along with great food, drinks, and activities. To learn more and secure your registration, please visit catalystacoustics.com/connect. We hope to see you there. And back to the focus of today's episode, where we are going to recap last week's Data Center World Trade Show in Washington, D.C. We had two Catalyst brands that were exhibitors at the show in Kinetics noise control and noise barriers, including a speaking session about solving data center noise issues from John Sofra of Kinetics. We are joined by John and Jerry Davis from Kinetics and James Thomas and Austin Rupp from Noise Barriers. Let's get started with today's conversation, where first up we have the Kinetics team.
Hello, my name is John Sofra. We just got back from Data Center World exhibiting. I'm Director of Sales for North America. I've been in the industry of airflow and acoustics for about 37 years, doing a lot of data center work and equipment noise control. Jerry?
Yeah, I'm Jerry Davis. I am the sales manager for our industrial and environmental divisions here at Kinetics, and I have been at Kinetics for 20 years.
Great. When we were at that show last week, Jerry, it was interesting because we didn't know what to expect, right? We've been doing, a lot of data center noise control, both indoors of data centers and server rooms and outdoors controlling noise from mechanical equipment, power and cooling. We wanted to go to a show. We've been doing this for about, at least specifically with the influx of data centers and exponential growth, we've been doing it for about since 2022. And we really didn't know what show to go to. So we thought this would be the right show. And I know I saw we had a constant traffic by our booth. We had a booth at the show. And what was your thoughts, Jerry, on the traffic side of things?
Yeah, I mean, first time, obviously, for me, too. And the traffic, I didn't know what really to expect. So I didn't know if it was going to be a lot of, data center people walking around kind of like the amoebas and 10 or 15 people coming to a booth from one company. But what we saw was a diverse group of attendees, which was nice because, not everybody had the same questions when they came up to the booth.
And that's what I thought. And what I really thought was cool was the message we had in our booth was, we're Kinetics noise control, we're manufacturer noise control products. The message was we sell through solutions. We very rarely sell you a bill of goods. We want to show you how to apply these products with our solution base. And they also really picked up on the fact that we offer and manufacture many noise control products. We don't just have one or two products. We have many products, from barrier wall systems, ventilation silencers, acoustic louvers, quilted systems, sound absorbers, and they really got the feel. I felt the booth was explaining that we are a solutions, composite solution business. And did you get that feel too?
Yeah, majority of the attendees, when they came up, they realized that these campuses, the data center campuses, are noisy environments. But what they didn't know was the solutions to those noise problems. So it was great at our booth because we had actual physical samples of our products, and we were able to identify, here's some types of solutions for the noise on the interior side of your building.
Right.
And here's some of the products that were used to control the noise on the exterior side. Now it went from, hey, we can meet your community noise standard with these products, and then personal protection indoors with these products.
Yeah, we could meet the OSHA standard indoors, and that actually leads me up to the fact that I was able to give a presentation, a tech talk at the show. It was an hour-long tech talk on Wednesday, and it was really interesting because I like to tee this up properly. There's this big exponential growth of data centers. Why do we even need data centers now? How are they determining where to put data centers? What is the growth rate? Why, and things like that, and what determines where they put the data centers? I always start, or I started this presentation that way because I wanted people to understand that this is here to stay. And, I had comments in there like that I've been reading and I put up there is that people are addicted to data centers. They're addicted because of what they do. They support, for e-commerce and all of our surfing the web and everything we do, and LinkedIn, all these
Of course.
things. So that was really cool. And then as we got to that point, that was probably maybe the first 25% or a third of the presentation. Then we got into, well, what are the common noise sources, both indoors and outdoors? We talked about server rooms. We talked about generator rooms. And then we went into outdoor cooling, the cooling towers, the air-cooled chillers, and the air handling units and condensers, and just tried to pick. There's a lot of other noise sources, but these are the big ones. And then we went through and looked at all the different products and solutions that we could apply to these. And it's neat because a lot of people think there's nothing you can do about it. There's nothing you can do about this noise. And we
Correct.
talked about community, and it was really interesting in the fact that we're also doing it and stress the fact how much you need to know about how the equipment operates. We know noise control, but we also, luckily, our teams, right, Jerry, they know maybe even more about equipment operation because people are worried about equipment breathing correctly and they're voiding warranties. And we were able to explain that. So I think there was about 60 people, 65 people in the room for the presentation, which was even more interesting because there was 7 other presentations going on at the same time. I was worried about, the attendance, but obviously noise, as we expected, is an issue. So,
Yeah, and we with that presentation, you generated a lot more foot traffic to our booth,
oh, that's
wanting
right.
even more information and kind of pigtailing off of your presentation there.
Yeah, confirming they understood what we were trying to do. And you're right, we did have a lot of pickup after that. Uh, it was a constant traffic, I think, at the show. I think we had some good discussions. I think we would have liked to see, like I said, we've never done it before, right?
Yeah,
I think we would like to see more designers at the show. Although we've met some, but we would like to see more designers there.
yeah,
The
I
people
think
we
that
work
was the
with.
biggest shock to me too, was the lack of those types of people.
Yeah, and I don't know. I know our teams are searching for such a show, and so that was really interesting. I think my takeaway is that this show, when you went to the show, there were booths all over the place, and somebody said the show was twice the size. The expo part was twice the size it was the previous year. The meetings were immense. They had immense, wonderful selection of meetings that you could attend, but you and I, we walked the show before it even started when everybody was setting up the booth. And the very first day, we got in an hour early and we saw everywhere. The theme was power
Power,
and
yes,
cooling,
power,
power and cooling. And
yeah,
Jerry and I
big.
were like, go ahead.
Yeah, the number one was power, and then the second one was cooling.
And it was
But
really cool.
power was the driving theme
Yep.
of
Was the
the
base, and then
exhibitors.
cooling for that, right? And
Yep,
then it was great because those are, of the 5 noise sources that I presented on, the key ones, primary noise sources at a data center, indoors and out. Those are 2 of the key ones, and it was
correct.
really neat. It was like, yeah, you got all that, but we can help you solve it. We didn't have people come by, like I said, they didn't know anything could be done. Now, a lot of the designers and architects and engineers that both internal to data centers and third party, they know things can be done, but that gets back to the level of audience where we want more of those people, and but we got mostly the people that really didn't know anything could be done, which was good because we
Yeah, it
got
was,
to at least
yeah,
educate
because
them.
you could term it more of we got more of the engineers as the attendees rather
Hmm.
than those architects.
The interesting thing that I saw at this show that was different, the people that did come by the booth and engaged in constructive conversations, was the fact that they talked more, which I liked. They talked more not just about the product and solutions, but they talked about the initial cost of the product, which led in well to what we always do. Is it's not just the initial cost, but these products are easy to install too, so those installed costs are low. So I thought that was neat because I usually don't get to the installation. We don't do installation, but we don't get to those all-inclusive discussions on these solutions. I thought that was neat. Did you entertain any of that as well?
Yeah, we did obviously see a lot of that, those types of questions.
The neat thing is, they would ask us, do we install? We don't, but we know a lot of people that do. But it would lend into, these are really, the way we come up with these products are very easy to install. And it led into what we offered, like installation design drawings and things like that. But I think overall the show this show too was one of those where they had the expo only open certain hours a day. It wasn't like one of these expos that run hours and hours upon a day. It was more so whenever there was breaks, when all the meetings were done, there would be 2-3 hour slots of the show, which I thought was good because it really funneled people in. It was like a mass funneling, and then we were able to actually get some things done during the day and other parts when the show was down. But the meetings were good.
Yeah,
I
that
thought
was
we
the
had a good
first time
turnout.
that we've had that really segmented expo time.
Hmm.
And, there are some positives and negatives of that. And I
Right.
think the positives are that we're not sitting around and doing nothing at the trade show for hours at a time. But one of the negatives are that the traffic flow was so great during those times that, did we lose anybody?
Were we
Because there
able to
was
touch
multiple
base?
people at our booth and they just walked by because they didn't want to stand in line.
I thought it was good too that we came out with our new environmental brochure with all outdoor noise control solutions of mechanical equipment, and we came out with the newest brochure on that. So we were kind of putting it, that was one of the things we were displaying at the show. And one of the things was nice was we did have a good idea to come up with a QR code, so people that either didn't want to carry the brochure or couldn't get in to see us, they would scan that QR code, which was nice. I thought that was because fewer people are wanting to carry those literature
Correct.
pieces
And
around the
and we
show.
saw that with those when we had multiple people in the booth
Hmm.
that they were scanning that or they were just taking our cards
Right.
and business
Yeah, I
cards
never
and
went through
leaving.
cards more than I did at this show. We went through
Right.
cards like crazy, which was good. And the thing is once again, we're the solutions people. We make all different types of indoor and outdoor products, from noise controls to barrier wall systems to absorbers to ventilation silencers, acoustic louvers, chillers, stacks, pergolas, noise block being the trade name. I think that all the activity we've seen since 2022, 2023 has just been growing and growing, and the demand for our products has been great. And we saw that at the show.
All right, thanks to John and Jerry for sharing that information from Kinetics. And now we are going to turn it over to James and Austin to hear from Noise Barriers.
My name's James Thomas. Been with Noise Barriers almost 10 years now. I'm the national sales manager. And I've got Austin Rupp with me today. Austin.
Yep. Hi, everybody. Name's Austin Rupp. I am a sales manager at Noise Barriers. Been with the company just under a year. Been with Catalyst for about 4.
Super. We just got back from Data Center World last week. Saw a lot of people, some new, some familiar. I'd say one of the biggest takeaways was just the variety of people.
Yeah.
We saw consultants, we saw door packagers, we saw general contractors, architects, hyperscalers, a whole mix of different individuals stopping by our booth this week.
It was a mixing pot. It was a lot of different faces, a lot of people looking for just really generic information on noise control with data centers, understanding how we fit into that whole segment. James, what was What were the most common questions you received?
People seem to understand that data centers generate noise. They didn't seem to understand that there were solutions in place already designed and engineered to solve the issues. I think they thought a lot of the data center people had to figure it out themselves. So I think us being there with some of our acoustic barrier wall solutions, some of our interior and exterior acoustic swing doors, I think we kind of gave the architects a sense that this is something that they could just plug right into their drawings, and right into their designs and get tested and well-performed solutions. We spoke a little bit about outdoor acoustic noise with some of the consultants we saw from the Dakotas. Do you think that residential noise at the property line is going to continue to be an issue with data centers?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's one of the areas we've been seeing it the most, really, is residential areas where there's certain noise codes, certain noise ordinance. Typically, we see, we want to get at least 2 feet above whatever the equipment line is, with our barrier wall. A lot of the question I heard, a common question I heard was, if this roof is open, can't the sound just go up there? Not that simple. It's a little different. Really, we want to get our height, like I said, 2-3 feet above to maintain the noise in that residential area so that your little family around the block can have a nice, quiet Sunday.
Agree. I also heard a lot of talk about just installing CMU walls around the perimeter rather than acoustic walls. I think the thought there was that CMU walls might be cheaper and potentially slightly quicker to install, but I think explaining to them that you won't have great absorption with a CMU wall and you'll get a lot of reverberation and reflection, they began to kind of understand that the CMU maybe isn't the best route. It's a very permanent solution, whereas the modular barrier walls from noise barriers, for all intents and purposes, could be moved if the site ever moved, or if the wall need to be deconstructed so that they could get access to the equipment. You could take the panels out of the bays and get a fork truck or a telehandler in and provide maintenance on your equipment. Another misconception too is that the only solution that noise barriers provides is exterior noise. Spoke with a large door packager out of Iowa, and they were very interested to learn and understand more about our acoustic swing doors. Inside of the data center itself, there can be quite a lot of noise generation, and having acoustic swing doors installed in the high acoustic walls is something that they were just using hollow metal doors for, and not really realizing that noise barriers had a solution for that either.
Right, it's getting that awareness out there. It seems like there's a lot to be said about the awareness of data centers, understanding just how, like I said, noise fits in. One of the most common things I heard, and I'm not sure if you heard this as well, kind of relates to the CMU walls, but people like to gravitate towards that visual of like a highway barrier wall.
Right.
Just the differences between that and our products. What would you say that number one?
Well, the highway walls are, tilt-up concrete or precast concrete, and they're very rigid. They're very typically gray or brown in color. The noise barriers walls can be powder coated in any RAL color. You have different options in terms of the aesthetic look of the panel too. You can have a typical V-stack panel, which is sort of your most industrial looking panel, and for more architectural applications, we can actually conceal the steel beams behind concealer panels and kind of make a Luca-Bond looking wall, which is just a really aesthetically pleasing option for some customers. Again, I just sort of getting out the knowledge and sharing that these solutions exist. Again, I don't think a lot of the architects and mission control people designing these do a ton of research or are fully knowledgeable about the acoustic walls. There's so many important aspects. I think that's something that we learned a lot about, seeing our booth, sort of tucked away in sort of the specialties area of the trade show. Just the large companies, the Schneider Electrics, the York, the Train, the huge power generation people, cabling, battery backup, security. There's so many massive, large purchased and designed components that go into a data center. I think the noise control aspect is sometimes left behind or forgotten or an afterthought. So Absolutely. Getting out to the data center show is our first time there, getting out to that show and meeting some influencers and people. I think we'll get some connections and relationships off of. All in all, I think a really positive show.
I
I had a
agree.
great time. Yeah,
I agree.
I think we'll be back next year, I hope. And I think we'll see a lot more data center work, not necessarily driven directly from the show, but I think acoustic barrier walls, and as data centers are being designed in rural areas and as that slowly starts to move into more residential areas, I think that, the effects and the conversations with noise barriers products will just continue to grow and grow, and it'll be a more forward thought of scope in the new data center build.
I agree. I think a lot of people were also surprised at how easy it is to install the V-Stack quiet line panels. Just, in between your steel columns, 12, 16 feet apart, basically dropping them in, and, they're good to go. You can take them out as you wish. They're modular, they fit into each other, but I think a lot of people, at first, they thought it would require a lot of manpower, a lot of engineering, a lot of time, and, really it's not the case. So it's beneficial for these people to realize, when they're finishing up their data center, how much time and cost do they have to associate with the noise control. That's something that we can certainly minimize.
Yeah, we have a ton of information on the website. So I know when we were talking to individuals, we told them about the videos we have, the installation videos, the installation mock-up drawings and sample drawings on the website showing the different column layouts and spacings and wind loading requirements that we take into account. There was a lot of training, a lot of guiding and informing at the show, but all in all, I'd say it was super positive.
I agree. Yeah, can't wait for next year.
Thanks for listening to today's episode, and be sure to subscribe to Catalyst Conversations. If you've been enjoying these discussions, we'd appreciate it if you could leave us a review to help others in the industry learn more about our podcast. And as a reminder from earlier, please register for Catalyst Connect this June in Texas. To learn more and secure your spot, visit catalystacoustics.com/connect. Thanks again for listening, and stay tuned for more episodes as we continue to explore noise and sound control advancements shaping the future of industries worldwide.